Good morning, dear students. Now welcome back to your business studies class. Now we had been doing about the joint Hindu family business yesterday. So see, before moving on to today's class, let me give you a quick recap of what joint Hindu family business is. Now we have seen that whenever there are a joint family who are living together, then all the family members are engaged in one business, and there must be at least 3 generations together working, and the head of the family is known as the Karta, and all the other members are also the partners by birth. That means they get the partnership right immediately after birth. That means the moment they take birth in the family, they become the partner. Now we also have studied about the features, the merits and the demerits about this company. That means if there will be a joint Hindu family business, then what are the various merits, demerits and everything we have studied yesterday. Now today we will see about, we also covered yesterday about the partnership. That means what partnership business is. That means when two people join hands together, it forms a partnership. We also did the features of the partnership. So today we will move on towards merits of partnership and all the other things that I am going to discuss about partnership. So today we will cover entirely the concept of partnership. So let's see what our first merits of partnership is. It is easy to form and easy to close. It means you can easily start a business. Not much formalities are to be done. Two partners, suppose A and B, can easily form their business, start their business by registering themselves, and they can also easily close their firm whenever they want to do so. So formation is very easy and closure is also very easy. Not much to do. Not much formalities are to be done. Moving to the second merit, we have balanced decision making. That means because of the involvement of more than one person, you have a balance in decision making. Suppose partner A is taking some decision which may lead to loss, B can come and say that no, this decision is not good for our company. So it is a sort of balanced decision making where the 2 people or 3 people are working together, and then all of them are giving their opinion. So if in the sole proprietorship we have seen that there was one person who was taking the decision, so he might not be expert. His decision may be wrong. But here in partnership you have a balanced sort of decision where involvement of more than one partner is here. Moving to the third point, we have more funds. Now obviously if there are more people engaged in doing the business, obviously there will be more fund. So large capital can be accumulated here. A can put 5 lakh rupees, B can put 3 lakh rupees, C can put 2 lakh rupees. So more the number of partners you have, more funds you will have. This was again a drawback in the sole proprietorship we have seen. In sole proprietorship there is limited fund. How much can one person give? But here it's a merit that we can have more and more funds. Moving to the fourth point, we have sharing of the risk. Now see, the risk can also be shared. That means the partners will be sharing the risk among themselves. The risk is not in the hands of one partner. Again, the anxiety, burden, stress level of individual person decreases here or reduces here because there is more than one partner who is bearing the risk. So there is a sort of sharing of the risk. Understood? Moving to the fifth point, we have secrecy can be maintained. That means the partners can keep secret among themselves. No legal requirements are to be done. No need to publish anything of the any reports or any accounts in the market. So you can keep everything secret. The partners can keep among themselves everything. They don't have to publish any sort of accounts and reports in public. So there will be a sort of secrecy maintained in this type of business also. So there are 5 merits which we have covered about the partnership. Now moving towards the limitations. So see, what are the limitations of the partnership? That means the drawbacks of the partnership. The first point that we have is unlimited liability. Now see, even in this partnership business, the liability of the partner is unlimited. A and B are partners. Both of them are liable to bring their personal property and pay the debt if required. Means if the business is going in a loss or if there is insolvency or any sort of problem, then both the partners have to bring their personal property and sell them and give them money to the creditors, money lenders, whatever. So the liability of both the partners or all the partners are unlimited. Moving to the second drawback, we have limited resource. Now again, as a partner, they will not be able to, if there are 2 partner or 3 partner, so a very large scale organization cannot be formed because they might also have limited resource. So if the firm is again and again going in loss, 10 years have gone, 15 years has gone, how much of money can they put? So again there is a drawback that not much resource are there with the partners. Moving to the third demerit, we have conflicts. Now there will be disagreements among the partners which will lead to the conflicts and dissolution of the firm. See this word, dissolution of the firm. Dissolution of the firm means dissolvement of the firm. That means the firm will come to an end. If A and B are continuously doing the business and continuously disagreeing with both of each other, and they are quarreling amongst themselves, so obviously the partnership will come to an end and they will dissolve their firm. So this is again a big drawback or a limitations of this partnership business. Understood? Moving to the fourth point, we have lack of continuity. That means as there is no separate legal entity, there is no continuity. If any one of the partner retires, or if any of the one partner dies, or if he doesn't want to do the business, or any sort of thing comes, the business comes to an end. That means there is a lack of continuity in the business. If A and B are quarreling, or suppose B wants to retire, or suppose B died, any sort of problem comes, business will automatically come to an end. The partnership will come to an end. So continuity is not there. Moving to the last limitation that we have is lack of public confidence. That means public are not, we don't get the confidence of the public. As it is free from the government control, no government can have a control in the partnership business. So public do not rely and they do not show their confidence in this type of business, because government has no control in this sort of business. So public will not public will not have any confidence towards this business. So these were your 5 types of limitations that we have covered. Now moving to the next topic that we have for today is types of a partner. So see, there are various types of partner that we have. The first one is active or working partner. Now this is again very important. What are the types of the partner? So see, active or working partner, as the name says, active. That means he is continuously taking part in the business. So he is contributing the capital, he is taking part in the business, he is managing the day-to-day affairs of the business. That is why he is known as a working partner or an active partner, because he is continuously doing the business. So he will bear the risk, he will bear the loss, he will bear the profit. So he is an active partner. Understood what an active partner is? Moving to the second category, we have sleeping or dormant. Now as the name says, sleeping, sora, means he is having no active control in the business. Though he is giving capital, he is sharing profit and everything, but he doesn't have an active role in the business. No active role in the business, but he contributes the capital, shares the profits and the losses and everything. Only he is not coming and taking part in the business. He is not working. That is why he is called a sleeping partner. Moving to the third type of partner, we have secret partner. Now see, his connection with the firm is unknown to the public. Secret means public doesn't know that there is a partner. Suppose A and B are partners, there is a third partner C, but to the public nobody knows that he is also a partner. He will also contribute money, he will also give the capital, he will also participate in the management of the business, but ultimately he is not known to the public. That means he is a secret partner and public doesn't know about him. But everything is remaining same. Capital he will give, losses and profits he will share, everything. He participates in the management also indirectly, under nobody knows, but he is managing everything. So this is a secret partner. Moving to the fourth category, we have nominal partner. Nominal means he is just giving you the name. He lends his name because he has a reputation or a benefit. Firm might get a benefit out of his name. Say for example, if Ambani lets me his name to use his name, Reliance, then that will be a benefit for me. But obviously I'll have to give him some money. That is why he will be giving his name. So that is why he is also known as an ostensible partner or a quasi partner. Please underline these words, ostensible partner or quasi partner. Because as the name says, he is lending us to use his name, and because of his name there is a benefit that our firm is enjoying. So he does not contribute capital, he has no participation in the management, he does not take part in the profit, does not take part in the losses. He is just giving us the name, and for that we are paying him. So he is just lending us to use his name. Understood what is a nominal partner? Moving to the next one, we have partner by estoppel. Now see, if a person acts as a partner of a firm by his words or conduct, then he is known as a partner by estoppel. It means what? He is not an actual partner, but he is liable to pay the debt as he himself has become a part in front of the public. Means he is showing the public that I am a partner. He is acting as a partner on behalf of the firm. His words are showing that he is a partner. His conducts, his activities are showing that he is a partner. So he is not an actual partner, but he is liable to pay the debt because people know that he is a partner. His behavior is letting them know that he is a partner. He is showing himself, okay, I am an equal partner in the firm. So this is known as partner by estoppel. Understood what partner by estoppel is? Moving to the sixth type, we have partner by holding out. It means what? A person may be declared as a partner in a firm by the outsiders, and he does not deny this even after becoming aware of it. Means he is declared as a partner in a firm, but outsiders have declared it, and he is not denying. He knows he has become a partner. So he is liable for that because again outsiders know it that he is a partner, but he is not an actual partner. He is just holding out. Means outside people have asked him to become a partner and we have agreed because maybe his name is there, his fame is there, he is very famous in the market. So this is what is partners by holding out. Understood? And the last one that we have is types. I mean, if you sum up, then let's see how many types of partners are there. Active partner, sleeping partner, secret partner, nominal partner, partner by estoppel, and partner by holding out. Please see this chart. It is also, this table is also there in your page. I mean, this is page 31, 2.1 table, where you have been shown that if they contribute the capital or not, how do they manage the business, how do they share the profits and loss, how much is their liability. So with the help of this chart, you can easily learn that which partner contributes capital, who takes part in the management, who is actually sharing the profits and losses, who is having the liability and all. So all these things you will be easily able to understand with the help of this table. Understood? Now see, the next slide that we have is minor as a partner. Some minor is a person who has not completed the age of 18. That means he has not become an adult. So a minor cannot become a partner as he is not capable to enter into a contract. He cannot sign, he cannot come into a contract. But he may be admitted as a partner because there is some benefit that the firm is getting with it. So with the consent of all the partner, that means if all the existing partner agrees, then the minor can become a partner and his name can come into the partnership. So a minor, if they want, can become a partner. See what we have next. He cannot take active part in the management. Please remember, active part is not being taken by him. He is not coming and managing the business. But his liability is limited to the extent of his share he has given in the capital and the profit of the firm. Means he can share the profits and losses, but to the extent of his liability or capital he has given. If he has given 1/4 capital, then to the extent of 1/4 only he will bear the liability, and he will bear the profits and losses also according to his share or in the firm. If he is having that much share, he will share that much. Understood? Moving to the next one, we have after becoming major, he will be eligible to enjoy all the rights of a partner and his liability becomes unlimited. Means if he becomes major, he is eligible to have all the rights of a partner and also his liability becomes unlimited. Means then he is a normal partner. So a partnership cannot be formed with a minor partner. Please remember, only with the consent of all the other partners, he can become the partner. And when he becomes adult, he can easily become the partner. So these were minor as a partner. Now we will look into rights of a minor partner. That means what are the various rights of a minor partner. He also enjoys some rights. So see what rights he has. The first one is right to share the profits and properties of the firm. He has an equal right to share the profits of the firm. He has an equal right to share the properties of the firm. Understood? The second right that he has is he can inspect and copy the accounts of the firm if he wants. That means if he wants, he can ask the other partners to show him the copy of the firm. But he has no access to all the books of the firm. Please remember, he cannot see all the books. He can just inspect and have a copy of it. Fine. And moving to the last right that he has is he can sue the partner for payment of his share of the profit or properties in the firm. Means if he wants, then he can sue other partners if they are cheating to him, if they are not paying him his share. So he can ask them to go to jail. Means he can file a case against them. He can easily go and sue those partners. So these were the rights of a minor partner. Now we will see the next topic that we have is types of partnership. That means what are the various types of partnership. So see, we have generally two types of partnership. One is the general partnership and the other one is the limited partnership. Let's see what general partnership is. General partnership, just see, it is also known as an ordinary partnership. Unlimited liability to the partners usually found in India. This is a normal partnership business that we have it. where liability of the partners are unlimited, and generally we find this sort of business in our India. Now we will further see that what are the types of this general partnership. That means this general partnership are of two types. The first one is the particular partnership and the second one is partnership at will. Now see what these two things are. Particular partnership, just see, it is formed for a particular purpose. As the name says, it is a particular partnership. So it is formed for a particular purpose or for a particular period. And immediately when the purpose is over or the period is completed, the partnership comes to an end. So see, dissolved after the expiry of the time or the completion of the project. Whatever project we wanted to do, because of which we have formed this business. So if that comes to an end, the partnership automatically comes to an end. So if a partnership is formed for 2 years or for constructing a house or any sort of this, these are the examples. If we have formed a partnership just to construct a house, immediately after the house has been constructed, the partnership comes to an end. Understood? Next we have partnership at will. So now let's see what this partnership at will means. Duration of the partnership is not specified in the agreement. Now here the duration is not specified for 2 years, 5 years, we don't know. So here we have a partnership for an indefinite period. How long will it go? We don't know. So it is going for an indefinite period of time. Now it can be dissolved at any time if it is decided by all the partners or any of the partners. If A and B wants to dissolve after 10 years, they can easily dissolve. So beforehand we don't know that for how long it will go. So this is what is partnership at will. Understood? Now we will move towards limited partnership. That means the second type of partnership, which is limited. Now, limited partnership is of further two types, where the liability is unlimited, that is also known as your general partner, and where your liability is limited, so that is known as your special partner. Please try and understand, limited partnership is of two types. In one, you have unlimited liability, that means general partner. And in the other, you have special partnership, that means special partners, that means limited liability. So let's see what the first one is. Limited or special partnership is not there in our India. It is generally prevalent in England. So minimum one general partner is must here. But this sort of partnership we are not allowed to do. In India, we don't have this sort of partnership. Understood? See the next one. Partnership deed. Now what does partnership deed means? Very important. What partnership deed is? Simple meaning, this is example I am showing you. The deeds are made in this way. You see, you should have a copy of this proper format, and this paper is required. 20 rupees or 40 rupees this paper comes, and you have to make your deed on these paper. This is the government papers where you can get these papers in court and all. So this is an example, and your partnership deed must have articles of partnership, means it should follow the articles of partnership given by the law. So this paper is required for wherein you can have all the things written. Now partnership deed means what? Just try and understand. Partnership is established by an agreement which may be oral or in written. Very important that partnership is established by an agreement. Which agreement could be oral or written? I told you yesterday. Obviously, it is always better to have a written one because it can avoid any disputes if anything happens in future. So if any quarrel is happening or any dispute is happening, the written one will act as a proof. So the document which contains everything in writing about who are the partners, how will be their ratio, how much of capital they will give, how will they share the loss and profit, how will they manage the business. So all the details that will be written about in the paper, that document or that paper will be known as the partnership deed. Understood what partnership deed is? Now moving on to the next topic, contents of partnership deed. Means what should be there in your partnership. Now this is again a very important thing. Small points are there. It is all given in your book. You just have to learn the points. What should be the content? So see the first content that should be there. Name of the firm. It means very clearly you should be writing what the name of your firm is. Say for example ABC Associates. So the name of your firm should be written clearly. The second point that we have is names and address of all the partners. All your partners' name. If there are 3 partners, all their 3 names and all their addresses should be there. So full name and full address of each and every partner should be written in the deed. Moving to the third point, nature and place of the business. What is the nature of your business? You have say for example, garment shop or furniture shop. So what is the nature? Where is your business located? So all these name and place of the business is important. Moving to the next one, date of commencement of your partnership. Means when has your partnership began? What is the date you have started doing the business? That is also a thing which you have to record. Moving to the fifth one, duration of partnership. That means for how many days or how many years your partnership will have. Minimum we make for 5 years. Then we again can renew it again further for 5 years or 10 years. So you have to give that how much is the duration of your partnership. Next you have how much is the capital contributed by each partner. A is giving 5 lakh, B is giving 2 lakh. So everything you have to state in the deed. Who is giving how much of money. Understood? Moving to the next one, we have the amount that can be withdrawn by each partner. How much can each partner in a year withdraw? Suppose A wants to withdraw some money for his personal use. How much can he withdraw? And remember I told you in accountancy class, when the person withdraws something for his personal use, it is known as drawings. So this is how much of money can a partner withdraw from the firm. Understood? Moving to the next one, rules regarding the operation of the bank account. If you have to operate any bank account, then how is the rule that you have to do? What is the rules that you have to follow in operating the bank's account? You have to write that in your deed. Moving to the next one, we have divisions of profit and loss. That how will you divide the profit and loss? Who will take how much share? So division of the profit and loss is again a thing you have to record. Next one, interest on capital or drawing, if any. By chance you want to give interest on the capital or you want to charge interest on the drawing, then what should be the rate? What should be the percentage? You have to mention that in the deed. Moving to the next one, interest on partner's loan to the firm. By chance any partner has given a loan to the firm, then what will be the interest? Means if A has given a loan of 5 lakh rupees, how much of interest we are going to give him from the firm? So that percentage you have to record. Salary, commission, etc. if payable to any partner. By chance any partner has to get any salary or any commission. So all these we have to mention in the deed. Next, details of division of work among the partner. Who will do what? Who will take the purchase department? Who will take the production department? Who will become the sales manager? So all these details you will pre-hand decide and write it in the deed so that there is no conflict in the future. Understood? So details of the work has to be written. Next one, ascertainment of the goodwill. How much will be the goodwill? And if there will be a goodwill, what will be the goodwill at the time of admission, retirement and death? All these you will learn in your class 12. So don't worry, just for now, know these topics that they will also take out the goodwill. Settlement of the accounts. How will they settle the account? If any person retires, any partner retires or any partner dies, then how will they settle their account? Because he or she is going, the business will come to an end. So how will they settle up everything? Settlement of the accounts. If the whole firm is closed, then how are they going to settle their account? Who will take how much? Everything has to be decided in the deed, pre-hand. So how will they settle their account? Provisions relating to the maintenance and audit of the books. Means how will the accounts be audited? What are the provisions? How will they maintain the books of accountancy? Everything has to be recorded. Provisions for arbitration in the arbitration in the event of disputes. Means if there is any disputes, what are the provisions for that? So that has to be recorded. Provisions regarding borrowings of the firm. If the firm is borrowing anything, how will they pay back that borrowings? So that is also a thing that you have to record in the deed. And the last point that you have is the right, duties and liabilities of a partner. What are the various rights, duties and liabilities of a partner? Who is going to get what right? Which person has what duty and everything. See, out of these 20 points, the first 10 is very important. So if you learn half of them, that is also enough. So I have just jotted down all the points in details. You can take up only 10 points. Understood? Now let's see how we register the partnership. So next topic is registration of a partnership. So see how we register. Simple registration of a partnership is not compulsory, first of all. It's not compulsory by law. It is optional. It is up to you if you want to register. And if you want to register, you have to register it as per the Partnership Act 1956. So according to 1936. So according to that act, you have to register everything. So do the registration as per your need. It is optional, up to you. You want the registration or you don't want the registration. Now, if you want the registration, then what is the procedure? This is again a very important topic. Steps for registration. There are 3 steps. So the first one is submit an application in the prescribed form with the following detail. You have to first give an application that I want to have my firm registered. And in that application, you have to write all these details that I have given you. Again, name of your firm. What is the name of your firm? Where is your firm located? That means what is the location of your firm? What is the name of the other place where the firm carries on the business? Suppose your business carries on in 2-3 places, then what are the names of all those places? The date of joining of each partner, when has each partner joined? What are the names and addresses of all the partners? What is the duration of the partnership? That means for how long is the partnership? And last, this application should be signed by all the partners. Means at the end, all the partners will have to sign. All these are also there in your BST book, so you can take from there also. So the first step is you have to submit an application in the prescribed form. Understood? The second step that we have is remitting the fees for registration. Now you have to go and give the fees. There are some charges for registration, so just go and pay that fees. And this is the second step. And the last step that you have is issue of registration certificate. After the approval, the registrar will give you a name and he will enter the name of the firm in his register and issue you a certificate of registration. Means your firm is finally registered and you can start doing the business. Understood the procedure? Very easy. Now the last topic that you will do today is effects of non-registration. Means by chance if you don't register, what are the effects of not having the firm registered? So first one is you cannot sue against a third party. If your firm is not registered and some third party has done any crime against you, you are not being able to sue them. Means you cannot file a complaint against them because your firm is not registered. You have to deal only under you. You cannot go and file a complaint to the police. So an unregistered firm cannot sue against a third party for the recovery of the claim. Say for example, your firm is there and you have not registered and I have taken and ran away with 5 lakh rupees, your 5 lakh rupees. Now you cannot file a case against me because you have not registered your firm. So this is a drawback. If you don't register, you cannot file a complaint. Moving to the second effect is cannot sue against his partner. Now same way, A and B are partner. A has cheated on B. Now B's firm was not registered. So then B cannot file a complaint against B. So unregistered firm cannot sue its partner. If A is cheating, B can do nothing to A because the firm is not registered. Understood the effects of non-registration? And the last point that we have today is a partner cannot enforce his claim. That means a partner of an unregistered firm cannot enforce his claim against outsiders or against his co-partner. Means I cannot do anything if my outsider is not paying me, or I cannot do anything if my co-partner is doing something. I cannot claim money from him. I cannot force him to give me the money because my firm is not registered. If he or she is not paying, I can do nothing with this. So these were effects of non-registration. So these all that I have covered today, that means your limitations, merits, types of partners, who is a minor partner, types of partnership are very important. I know it is little lengthy and again the same point, but go through all these points and write all these notes in your copies and submit to me. If you have any doubts, ask me. Feel free to ask any questions that you have. Thank you. Have a nice day.